Hey everybody, Paul from Net Audio here. We're going to do kind of a little experiment. So in the truck world, we get a lot of conversation, a lot of topics that come up all the time is, should I upfire my subs or should I downfire my subs? So today we're going to perform some experiments and look at numbers, look at frequency response inside of a vehicle so we can see exactly what it's doing, and that way we can compare notes and see which is actually better in this application. What we have today is one of our Dodge Ram upfire enclosures. We're running two customer supplied JL audio subs and an older Alpine amplifier. So what we're gonna do is we've got an RTA hooked up with a microphone. We've got our device hooked up so we can play some pink noise, and we're going to watch what the frequencies are going to change when we play versus upfire versus downfire. And then we're also going to try to see if we can't show the difference between sealed versus ported and see what differences in frequency range this is going to do, just so we cover all of our bases. So what we have is an Audio Frog microphone hooked up to our PC system in the bay, so we can do some general RTA tests. I know there's better microphone options out there, and we have some of that stuff coming, so maybe we can do some other tests in the future. But honestly, we've been running this and playing with it, and for what we're wanting to see, it's working really great. So before we get started, we can talk about some of the theory behind this and why this is such an important thing, what my views are, and what the benefits of each one potentially could be. So in this enclosure, like I said, this is an upfire enclosure. In the previous generation Dodge Rams, upfire was pretty much your only option. And again, it was always brought up, but in the other vehicle, you couldn't really do a downfire very easily without some sort of compromises. So with upfire, you're hearing straight from the woofer. You don't get a whole lot of other effects from the enclosure, well, you just hear the woofer. I think they're more musical. I think the tone of them is a lot more natural. With the downfire, the whole principle is with the subs firing at the floor, that the sound compresses itself and naturally amplifies itself. We're just trying to run things simple so everybody has a general idea and some sort of a better informed answer. So when the sound fires down at the floor, like I said, it's going to naturally amplify itself a little bit. So that's going to help get a little bit more boost. But that downfiring is also going to color and affect what frequency response is going to be, because it's going to boost the sound. It's going to affect it in some way, shape, or form. So that's what I want to see is, does it affect it? Does it just boost it and make it louder across the band? Is there any negative side? Does it boost the deep stuff more? Does it boost the upper bass more? This is what we want to see and why we want to play around with this. So I'd say let's get into it and let's start seeing what things are going to do. All right, just so we can go over our setup here, so what we have is we're playing what's called pink noise. And if you're not familiar with pink noise, it sounds like static. So it plays all frequencies at the same time with the same intensity. And what that allows us to do is whenever it's played, we can monitor it using tools like this, and the difference that it's going to show is going to be based off of either the environment or off the speakers themselves. So it's showing what that speaker is actually doing. Think of it kind of like a dyno, but for your speakers. It gives you a visual representation of what it's doing. So an RTA is a real-time analyzer, and what it's got is a microphone that's hooked up, and we have it strapped to the headrest of the truck. So in real time, it's showing us what the sound and what frequencies are doing. So for this purpose, what we're doing is we're only showing the bass, so we're going from 250 to 20 hertz, but realistically, we only care about what's right around in here. So we'll take that and then compare, like this is right now is just the microphone, and it's picking up whatever ambient noise is in the truck. So right now in the bass range, we're down to the low 40s, upper 40s. We're like 48 or so. So let's play the pink noise and we'll see what difference that gives us. So you can hear it in the background, big boost. So we're running, somewhere 75 to 80 hertz, or 75 to 80 decibels across the whole range. Honestly, that's pretty flat across the board. So we're only focusing like 30 to 80. So just off playing the pink noise, between about 43 hertz to 80 hertz, it's pretty consistently about 77 decibels. So that's our reference. So that's what we're going to compare to. All right, so all we did is we flipped our subwoofer enclosure over and we put some 2-inch spacers underneath it. So don't judge us, it's ugly, it's only temporary. So what we're doing with the 2 inches, that's giving us enough room to allow the subwoofers to move, get the airflow out, but also let's get the sound out, but let the sound give it time to do its thing. We have a lot of customers who will bring us, you know, cheap enclosures, either they bought online or from a pawn shop, and it sounds like crap. And while it's playing, all I will do is grab the enclosure and pick it up just a little bit, and their eyes always get huge. You're like, what did you just do? You just have to let the sound do its thing. If it's a Downfire enclosure, there is still a bit of a science that goes to it as far as best results. So before we flipped it over, we're right below the 80 hertz or 80 decibel line. So let's see what difference this makes. So up here in the 70-80 hertz range, it is a little bit louder. It keeps spiking up, you know, 82, 83 decibel. But realistically, we have a little bit more bottom end. This is higher. But up here in the 50 to 80 hertz range, realistically, it's right around the same. I wouldn't really say that there's a whole lot of a difference here. But the deeper bass definitely is a little bit higher. Just for giggles, since we're in here and experimenting, one of my favorite quotes is, it's only playing around if you don't take notes. So while we got it, let's play around, but you know, we're taking notes, so it works. So right now what we're gonna do is we're going to completely rig it and turn it into a somewhat sealed box. We can just block off the port in order to reduce that airflow coming out of it and see if it makes any difference between sealed and ported with it upfire versus downfire. While we're here, we might as well experiment. So what we've done is we literally just took a big scrap piece of carpet and we just jammed it in the port. So is it perfectly sealed? No, but I didn't want to do anything permanent to this customer's enclosure, so we're just going to temporarily do it. It's going to greatly reduce the airflow coming out of it, so it's going to give us a close enough simulation so we can at least see what difference it does. All right, so just to recap, on the ported box, we were staying right around 78 to 80, 82 hertz if things were feeling frisky. So we're still downfiring, but we're going to switch to we're sealed now. So my guess is we're going to lose more of our output here and it's going to be louder up here. So let's see what it does. Overall, it's going to be quieter because it's going to be sealed. So you can see the deeper stuff is definitely, this is like from 60 hertz down. And if I showed you on a computer model, that's pretty close to how it's supposed to look. So roughly 60 hertz down, we lost a lot of the boost right around down in here, but you can still see the upper bass in the 70, 80 hertz range. We're still right around the 80 decibel mark. But you can see the deep stuff, it's really cut down. And like I said, that's a sealed box. That's the way it's designed and how it's gonna work. All right, let's flip this sucker back over and run it sealed upfire. So this is take number 4. So right now we have sealed box upfiring. So let's see what difference this makes. So honestly, I mean, we're still bouncing right around the same stuff. We're right below the 80 decibel mark. Honestly, I think the deeper stuff, yeah, this is louder down here because this was down closer to the 50 hertz range. So the upfire right now, and the only thing that's changed is the subs are now further away from the driver, but it's still windows up, the cab is sealed off. But this deeper bass is louder. So we were closer to 80, and right now we're honestly 76, 77 for the most part. So we're still not quite getting to the 80 decibel mark. Let's go over the information that we have here. So what I have shown, different overlaps of the ported upfire, downfire, and sealed upfire and downfire enclosures. So what we're going to focus on is this frequency range here, so 30 to 100 hertz. So this is your typical musical range. So let's start with a upfire sealed box. And this is honestly what you would pretty much expect to see. If I model this up in our box program, this is the frequency response that you're going to see playing, you know, pink noise. So roughly we're starting off around 77 decibels up around, you know, 60 hertz. So that's where our peak is in the sealed upfire box. So if we take that enclosure and we flip it upside down, so this is our sealed downfire enclosure. So on the deep bass, you know, we're pretty much right around the same. But you can see that there's significantly more output in the upper bass range. So yes, it's getting you more output, and if you're wanting it in the more musical range, then, you know, this honestly is going to be, you know, where we would expect. Now, of course, you know, that frequency range based off the microphone and the software, this stuff does bounce around a lot. So I got the most, you know, kind of uniform and consistent screen grabs. So just so we can compare, you know, what, you know, to expect. So on the deeper bass, there is some ranges where, you know, it is a bit of a boost, and that's what was expected, was for Downfire to be a little bit louder. So now let's turn that one off and let's compare upfire sealed to upfire ported. So again, you can see we're boosted we are a little bit louder across the board. You know, deeper bass is a little bit louder. And that's definitely be expected when we're talking, you know, if we're talking ported enclosures. Now, between upfire ported and downfire ported, so again, we got more output from downfiring if we are comparing ported to ported. So we had, you know, a pretty significant boost between the two of them. Now in this application, you know, the port is on, with it being downfiring, the port is on the passenger side further away from us, and that may account for why the deeper stuff is a little bit boosted, but this is just to give us a reference between the two. Ideally, we would have, between sealed and ported up and down, we would have the sub and the port in the same location. So this may be something that we test later on. Plus, we've also upgraded our test equipment since this video was recorded. So we may make another video readdressing this in the future. So if we turn all of them on, you can tell that ported downfire was definitely the loudest across, you know, especially on the deeper bass range. The sealed box was louder on the upper bass range, but again, that may be because of the port location inside the truck. But you can see just a gradual progression of sealed up and down versus ported up and down. You go green, orange, red, blue. So that's a pretty consistent across the board. So in general, what I would say that we're learning here is that if we're after the absolute most output, then you should be doing a ported downfire enclosure inside of a pickup. All right, guys, I hope that you all found this interesting. I know I learned a few things about it too. This is, seriously, I've been doing this 20 years, and that was some good information to go over. So I hope it, if anything, I hope it made you question some things. Go home, do your own experimentation. The equipment we're using is not expensive. We're using Rumi QWizard, so REW, and that is a free program. It does have options to upgrade, and you can pay for, but you can download it for free just like we did, and you can use that for experimentation. The microphone is from AudioFrog, you know, roughly around 200 bucks. But this is a great company, great guys. Andy Waymeyer owns it, and he's extremely helpful and really supportive. So if you're on any of the audio forums and have questions, most likely he's on there and he'll be able to help you out. But if you're wanting to do some measurement and some different things inside your vehicle, see what it's doing, then feel free to get that equipment, buy it, support those small companies, but also learn. That is the only way that you're gonna even come up with, you know, growing in this industry, is to get inside a vehicle, do some experimentations, see what you can find. So I hope you found this informative. If you do have any further questions, or if you need something, feel free to give us a shout. You can check us out at netaudio.com, or you can hit us up on Instagram and Facebook. Thanks, guys.